Facebook? Is it streaming to Facebook? Or
It
have been
will not go
zapped?
on Facebook again because
Fucking
Zuckerberg's
Zuckerberg.
gay.
Yeah. It's a trap hater, I guess.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone, to the 10K Rum Podcast. My name is Amos Joseph. I'm joined by my co-host, Brook Potter, who's in the UK. How's it going, Brook?
I'm getting tired, Amos. Tired of these lockdown restrictions. Tired of all the nonsense that's going on in the news. Tired of the censorship. I'm just tired of all of the bullshit that's out there. And as a result, there really hasn't been a lot of news that I've been paying attention to. Preparing for the show takes a lot of time. You see some of the worst aspects of, humanity and politics and lying news media. So this week I kind of took a break. It's going to be a kind of light show on my behalf. I didn't really look into too many things. So hopefully we can have some fun and lift my spirits. How are you doing, Amos? How are you doing? Oh, speaking of, I'm going to run and grab my water, but yeah, tell me how you're doing.
Doing all right. Snow.
Yes, I saw you posted that the false spring has basically been kicked in its ass and you're about to snow.
I just love false spring.
Yeah, probably the second false spring you've experienced this year.
Yeah. So basically, I woke up to a outside that had about few inches of snow.
Okay. Did you whip your dick out and measure it? Is it like all of 8 inches? I don't know, man.
It was a good few inches. So, so basically, yeah, it was a good few inches of snow, and then I had to go into work, and it was snowing there too. But it wasn't so bad at work. It was just the whole, here we are, 60 degrees out, Fahrenheit, that is.
Yes.
It's warm, it's nice out. Some people were wearing shorts. I was like, maybe I should wear some shorts. Tennis shoes, the whole, nah.
No, fuck your shorts, fuck your tennis shoes. Take a couple inches of snow up your mother cunt.
But yeah, so I was like, oh, all right, screw that, screw you, winter. So yeah,
you do live in Minnesota, right? This should be just par for the course at this point for you.
Yeah, but I mean, you hope, you gotta hope a little.
Indeed.
This is the thing, is like the comments that popped up, so that's like, this is expected. I'm thinking, yeah, you can live your whole life.
Hope. We still have hope. We hold on. Are you a little kitty? Have hope.
Yeah, you can live your whole life, and it's like it's like, yeah. You almost get a little one-itis for the weather, you could say.
I mean, it's actually been really, really good here. It's like very sunny. I think it's about, 10 degrees Celsius. So I am actually in short pants, and I was sitting in my windowsill getting some sun earlier today, getting that vitamin D, coming through. So yeah, it's. I'm sorry to hear you're back under the winter blanket.
Yeah, so it'll hopefully warm up in a couple weeks. And we'll be back to normal. But
yeah, we got some housekeeping to take care of. I'm going to run and grab my water if you want to see about that.
Yes. All right, everyone. So, of course, as always, for those of you joining for the first time, we do thank you, of course, for supporting the show. But if you want to support the show in more ways than just subscribing and leaving a comment, leaving a like, leaving all that, check out Tactical Soap to wash your balls.
Boom! Score 1 for the home team, and Amos is down for the count.
Oh boy!
All right, he's back up. For our listeners, I don't know what just happened there. Something collapsed on the screen. So,
my camera fell down. So,
fucking camera. Had one job to do.
Check out tacticalsup.com. Use the coupon code 10K Rum to get 10% off. And of course, Jesus. So you can also support the show. But if you want to support the show in any other way, check out subscribestar.com/shitload-preachers to check out our where you can pledge monthly for as little as $1 a month so you can support the show directly. Yeah. So
that's crazy. That's crazy.
We are off to such a great start today. So I don't know. I mean, I guess there's a handful of things we could really get in on. I mean, the I don't know, the stimulus checks are coming through.
Oh, really?
No, I mean I haven't gotten them yet, but so Biden basically signed the stimulus, well, quote unquote stimulus. Like every time, this is how it is. It's like about four. Well, I did the math on this. I looked over that American Rescue Plan, he called it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe about $700 or $800 million out of that 1.9 trillion is actually going to like direct aid to the American people.
To the American people, yeah.
So your unemployment, that's your unemployment boost, your PPP, which is your what is it again? Paycheck or payroll loan, payroll protection.
Right.
PPP loans.
Keep you on the payrolls.
Yeah. And then you had direct stimulus and stuff like that. A lot of that that was that. And then the rest, if you look over the bill, was just a lot of funding going to various departments. That bit interesting. It definitely is more aid than other bills have been. Like in the past, you've seen like, 10% goes to the people, the other 90% goes to airline companies or something.
Right. I heard that included in it was a lot of Democrat states are basically being bailed out. So I think Minneapolis is getting some money, as well as Los Angeles and a couple of these other places. So, I mean, I haven't read the bill. I have no interest in reading the bill. So, yeah, that's
I just had to I kind of skim through like the headlines of it, and but what it's kind of interesting. Like, so they signed it on Thursday, and most people are supposed to be getting their checks in the bank by tomorrow.
Okay, good.
Like 10-20% of the people have already gotten it so far. So they've been rapid fire. I think I saw an article. JP Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo's customers are in an uproar because I guess the banks haven't, like, there's a process by which they're getting the funding. Like, the banks can't just release the funding right away because a lot of people are seeing pending deposits.
Right. It's got to clear in a sense.
Yeah. So they're kind of mad, like, why can't you just give it to us? And the banks are like, yeah, we don't have that kind of money to just pre-release it.
Fair enough.
We can't just cover it. Then, anyways. Yeah, so there's that.
I guess all the people on Wall Street bets are going to be happy. GameStop is probably going to do another nice.
Crypto's going to see a huge surge after that. Like,
yeah, possibly.
A bunch of money that's already going to be kicking out there. Like, I think there's already people are already doing a bunch of ordering with crypto and stocks so far.
Yeah. So there's definitely going to be a short-term bounce on a lot of those things. We'll see. Are you in? Are you diamond hands? Are you diamond hands, Amos?
We'll see.
We'll see.
So,
fair enough.
No, I mean, I'm looking at it and like thinking, I think I've mentioned it a couple times on the show here about the possibility of a new computer. So, that will go towards that. Not right away. Like, that'll definitely be a big boost to that. And then people will definitely kind of see that over here.
Somewhere. So like a whole tower setup that you're looking to do.
Yeah, I've been looking at some websites. Like I think I had mentioned building a computer.
Hmm.
Now here's the problem. Graphics cards
Right
are in a
now, very
massive
expensive.
shortage.
Yeah, everybody's mining crypto with the graphic cards.
You can't buy them retail. You just can't.
Yeah. I mean,
So
you could buy a completed PC. They have their everything kind of built already.
that's what I'm doing.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. That's nothing wrong with
So
that.
I'm gonna go through a company that does like what's called pre-builds.
Yeah.
And there's a waiting period even for that.
Right. Okay. It's messed up.
But the thing is, though, is they can get the card. I can't, though. So that's
Yeah,
what I'm gonna have to
exactly.
do is just kind of, wait on that. Or else it's just like, yeah, you can't get a card because like a graphics card at retail that's like 350, $400 is 1,000 right
It's
now.
going for 1,000. Yeah, at least for the lower end graphics cards. Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, your previous your 5-year-old graphics cards are still $1,000. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. But I think it'll be good for you. And of course, you're going to be using it for the show as well. Hopefully, beef up some processing and get the audios out on the podcast a little faster with the rendering. So yeah, that'll be good.
What do we got here? We got someone.
Yeah, we got Michael Estrada in the chat. So I was just telling him hi.
Yeah, he said he's getting his stimulus check today. So yeah, that's the thing, is a lot of people are getting it pretty quickly. Like, I mean, I remember the 1,200 back in April last year. It was like it took like 3 weeks for everyone to get it.
Yeah.
And then it took like 2 months before people were getting checks and stuff in the mail.
Right.
And then the 600 took like week and a half, and now it's just like within days people are getting it. They say
That's good.
say there might be another, like Biden wants to do another package.
Right. We'll see what happens, because I think your interest rates have already started to go up. So the onslaught threat of inflation is starting to show its head. But I mean, unfortunately, the Democrats control basically 3 branches of government, and all they like to do is deficit spend. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting how I looked into. So you've heard about like how like we printed a lot of money,
Yeah,
the last year, but the inflation hasn't really kicked in as hard as we think it would have.
no, it's right on line with where it should, because it doesn't happen right away.
Exactly, but I mean, with how much money that we've been hearing, like what was it like? It was like some huge percentage of the money that is in circulation was printed in 2020. It was like,
Yeah, I think it's almost like half the money that's ever been printed was done in like last year. So the M2 money supply, I don't have the chart up, but yeah, basically you all have kind of doubled the money supply by half.
Yeah, people were looking, and I was watching a video that's describing it like, well, where'd all that money go? Because we haven't seen the inflation really kick in on that. And they said, oh, the businesses, like the companies, the large corporations are all basically hoarding the cash on that because there's nothing to really dump money in on. So this is the thing, is everyone thought, oh, 2020 was like this, we were going to have this like depression because of super inflation and like a market crash. No.
Well, you did.
Happen.
You had it, but then the Fed started printing money, and the money went, as you said, went to the corporations.
And it kind of stalled everything in a way. Like it slowed it down a lot. And now,
well, it reversed it. It's basically, we're headed for a depression, and if in terms of market pricing, and the Fed bought every possible security available, including junk bonds that were basically worthless for non-functioning companies. So everything just went up.
Yeah.
So what you have now is an asset bubble in your markets, bond markets, stock markets, and everything. So the minute the Fed stops printing, printing money. That's it. There's no more buyers. The average person has no cash, right? So nobody else is buying. It's just the Fed. So that's where all the money is gone.
Yeah. And once that money is released into the regular supply, flowing like everything else, that's when the real inflation will kick in.
Correct. Which is, we're just starting to see the sign of that.
And then we're fucked.
Yeah. Well, the world is pretty fucked at this point. So which is, again, crypto is doing very well. Gold is doing pretty well. Silver had a small run, although that hasn't really gone anywhere. So, I mean, this is how, the West has never had to deal with hyperinflation. You need assets. So like the value of the dollar is basically going to toilet paper. So the idea is you buy a car, even a depreciating asset is going to counteract the flow of the inflation. The asset will be worth more than the devaluation of the currency. So the only hope is, because a lot of assets are traded in US dollars. So you got oil, you got gold, all of these different outlets. People have to constantly buy US dollars to do any kind of exchange. So as long as they're buying, that's kind of pushing up the value. We don't know how long that's going to last. There have been attempts to like get away from the US dollar as the primary kind of global reserve currency. Right now, that hasn't been very successful, but this is unprecedented. We really don't know what's going to go on.
So could we short the dollar?
Yeah, you could. Basically, yeah. What would you do? You would go long yen, so yen US dollar, but the problem is all of these countries have basically done the same thing. It's just to different degrees. You guys are probably the worst, though. I think you guys have really, in terms of your deficit spending and the printing, I don't think anybody's matched quite to your level what y'all have done. So
yeah, maximum fiat, baby.
Yeah. It's to the moon.
I saw someone post the U.S. debt clock. U.S. debt to the moon when?
Yeah.
I was just like, oh no.
They're not wrong. It's, I mean, it does take a while for it to trickle into the economy. And again, Biden is not helping any of your, the economic situation. The gas prices going up, that's also inflationary because everything connected to petrodollars, which is basically everything: fertilizer, food, transport, manufacturing, plastics. When the price of the petrochemicals goes up, everything starts to go up. So yeah, that's even before the inflation kicks in.
Huh.
Yeah, not great. I mean, we don't know. We don't know what is going to happen, but we have seen this trend before, and it's not great. It's not great. Well, what can you do? We'll see what happens, right?
Print more money.
Well, it didn't work. As somebody said, it didn't work in Venezuela, right? That's when a country starts printing money to try and like pay its debts and other things. That's the beginning of the end. We saw it with Zimbabwe. We saw it with, Venezuela, Bolivia, Japan to a certain extent. I think they're on quantitative. Yeah, Germany during after the war. It's very depressing. It's very depressing. We'll see what happens.
What about you guys? You guys printing more money?
Yeah, we printed not as much as you guys though. Like the average person out here did not get a stimulus check, right? We had a couple grants and a couple loan programs. So much like you guys, your small business administration and stuff, but we did not get direct payments. So like all the compensation that went on with COVID, I didn't get fuck all, right? I didn't get a penny because I was a sole director, limited liability company. I was not eligible for anything. So yeah, it's, we did it as well, but not to the extent that you guys, because y'all funded everything.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, I don't think there's been printing on this scale before, has there?
No. Quantitative easing is a very new thing, and it started under Obama after the first financial crisis in an attempt to, well, not that it hasn't happened elsewhere. Like Japan has been doing quantitative easing for years, And they also experimented with negative interest rates, which is something that might come to the US as well. The euro is the same thing. There's stagnant growth. So they try to do quantitative easing as well. So it's been done in other places, but it's only been done in the US and like Western Europe for the last 10 years, but not to this extent. Nothing. There's nothing that's been comparable to what we've seen last year. How exciting.
I know, right? What do we got here? Red saying, yeah, you can never make back your later potential losses from printing a crap ton of money unless you're gearing up for war and taking other people's wealth to compensate. War! There we go.
Back on the menu, boys. I see Iran is posting some very provocative photos of their missile village. Did you see this?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they put out some pictures of some undisclosed location, obviously, where they're stockpiling a whole bunch of like anti-American missiles. And they're basically threatening the US, saying like, if you don't want to get into any kind of conflict in the area, you better sign back onto the Iranian nuclear deal, which is a terrible deal. You know, even the Israelis have kind of said this is the most ridiculous thing. It just slows them down for a number of years. But basically, they're entitled to a nuclear weapon, you know, after I think whatever the expiration of the period is. So it's not really curtailing anything. But yeah, Iran is actually strong arming the US at this point. Even North Korea is strong arming the US at this point and basically saying Biden better not fuck up anything that, you know, these peace treaties have been put in place. So interesting times. What does it feel like to be at the back of the line in the world events for a change? Oh, well, again. Well, you had the Obama apology tour back when he was in power. So, I mean, you're going back to that.
You know about the diplomatic incident with the South China Sea, right? With the Philippines?
With the Philippines and the fishing grounds, right? Where the Chinese moved in. Yeah,
basically, they moved in and there was an agreement. They went against the agreement. And because we have a defense pact with the Philippines, we didn't do anything.
Yeah. Obama deliberately said they're not going to war over fishing grounds. And that escalated China's aggression in the entire region.
And China's just like, oh, so you're not going to step in to someone you promised to step in for.
Salami tactics, yeah.
Yeah, I've been looking at that with and having some discussions with that regarding another country that is, we'll just say, close to my heart. And I don't like how that looks under a Biden administration. I mean,
not really.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
No, I completely agree. So the guys over at China Uncensored were recently on Timcast for a second time, actually. Very good interview. Him, Shelley, and his producer, whose name I can't remember. And they talked very much about the situation you're describing. And the fact is, very high diplomats have already kind of come out and said, we own the Bidens. Like the money that they had, the deals that they made, we own the whole family. We got everything we need for leverage is ours. So you're exactly right. If that's true, and we love our Chinese overlords and you know, YouTube bowing to Uyghur concentration camps people over at Google. So we love our overlords here on the 10K Rum podcast, but it's not looking good. It's really not looking good.
I saw a video. Bill Maher gave a few minutes to kind of discuss why China has basically, like, in the sort of the, not the battle, kind of the competition between America and China.
Yeah,
China has not only been winning, China's pretty much won on a lot of fronts.
Yes.
What is it? Even just with our, like, he's like, obviously authoritarianism, the way they run a lot of things, is bad. No one's going to argue against that. But if a bridge breaks in China, they rebuild it.
Yes.
If they want something, they do it. The people do it. They're not sitting there debating, you know, and he pointed to a Dr. Seuss book, is this racist?
Yeah. Yeah.
No one really cares. They will debate, do we need to do this to beat the Americans? Do we need to build this? Do we need to put money into that? Are we going to buy up another African country by
Correct.
building all of their infrastructure? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things they're doing that is very reminiscent of like
Colonialism.
yeah, it's that colonial. Yeah, it's a new colonialism that America has done over the last century, pretty much. That China is doing in less the time, I'd say.
I don't think the Americans really did a lot of colonialism.
No, the new colonialism is sort of like is basically when you're putting money into foreign countries, like building their bridges, building their
Yeah.
infrastructure, putting bases there. China is doing more of that through infrastructure and also
Correct.
buying up a lot of debt.
Correct. So they're doing it financially.
Yeah,
So
because that's kind of the way you do it nowadays.
Yeah. You
Whereas
guys
in the
are kinda
last century,
acquiesced
we
on
did
that.
it differently.
But the ironic thing is that you guys actually give more money to a lot of these places. But
Yeah.
unlike the Chinese, up until Trump, because Trump was actually the first one to be like, no, if we're giving them money, we need equal footing or
Yeah.
reciprocity. Biden and the Democrats and the Republicans prior to that, they basically sold out the American people.
hmm
So you're exactly right. The Chinese do it as a quid pro quo. They give massive debts to African nations secured by mineral rights, diamond mines, oil fields, major infrastructure, airports, shipping ports, and whatever, knowing that they can't pay, and then they seize control of the assets. And as you say, this is like financial colonialism. All over Latin America, they've been doing it. They've been trying to do it in Trinidad. They've been doing it all over the world. And it's brilliant. It is, these countries, because of politicians,
And if we
can't
did
say
it,
no.
there would be debates over if we're racist or not.
Correct. And y'all would be scared about that. Y'all would be scared about being called racist.
And China
the
just
Chinese,
like, care.
they don't give a shit. They're like, yeah, call us racist all you want. And they are. In a lot of ways, they are very racist. I mean, there was a fantastic documentary about the influx of Chinese men. So about the one-child policy. So there's a disproportionate number of men to women in China. The CCP is trying to like catalog the fertile women and trying to match them up. But because of this, a lot of Chinese men have moved into Africa to marry African women, not for love, not because of anything, to get access to resources to do business in Africa. So there was a whole documentary on this entire thing of these Chinese businessmen marrying African women to get citizenship to set up whatever enterprise. And there was a discussion between one of the Chinese business owners and one of his African employees. And he basically like talked down to him like he was a dog, saying how, the Africans were given, the colonial infrastructure by the British. They were given the railroads. They were given all of these things and they destroyed it, because they're frightened of colonialism and they never developed. And he's talking this plainly in front of the guy, like basically insulting the man's entire heritage. Couldn't say a word.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, oof. And that's the thing. They have more people.
Yeah.
The potential that like all of that we've developed in the last 100 years was only really limited by the amount of people and resources and just potential we have. Here comes China doing it twice as well. I don't know how many times as fast, but at least twice as fast with more people and more deliberately with no real pushback from us. Pretty much the only one that can really push back on them. Would you say?
Yeah, I would say militarily, I think that's still true for now. But the reason China and India have the most world's population is because of the vast poverty. So the richer a country gets, the slower the birth rate, right? Because it becomes expensive. Taxes go up. There's more corporate spending, it's welfare, all these other types of things. But when you have a developing country, all you can do is sit around and have kids because those become an asset. That's, work in the farms or work in the poor regions. So what ended up with China, for a long time, they were in abject poverty and stuff like that. And now they've adopted a capitalist system to kind of offset their authoritarianism. But you still have the massive population because of centuries of poverty.
Yeah.
So that might sort itself out, maybe, although there is the disproportion of men to women. But China's taking all of that very seriously. Like, they're training their men to be men. They're not giving into all of this woke agenda. They've basically seen that the West has acquiesced, the pillars of intellect, research, like, in terms of military strength and other things. So if it wasn't for the advancements of your military, China would walk basically all over you.
Yeah. The real, like, in terms of the pace or like the speed of development in so many parts of our society have kind of peaked.
I don't know if they've peaked, but y'all have definitely tapered off. Y'all aren't really pushing and pioneering like you used to.
Yeah, like we still do, but it's like here comes, and the curve, if you want to say the curve of development and innovation and all that, is kind of
it's plateaued, maybe. Yeah,
it's kind of a little bit. And China is coming up. Like, granted, they have a lot of ground to cover, but they're like coming way faster than we did back when we were around where they were.
Well, it helps that they steal from you guys. So that.
No. No one's like, and that's the thing. It's like no one's gonna like disagree with that. It's just they're coming at it. They're like, this is funny because they kind of made a little bit of a joke. It just had nothing to do with politics. If you remember, Stargate SG-1.
Yes.
So when they, everyone who doesn't kind of know, there's like aliens, there's the Stargate, but then at one point during the show, they do reveal to the other countries, hey, we got the Stargate, we have these aliens we come into contact with, we want to make this more official, we want to include the rest of you. So America was allying with Russia, China, France, and the UK, I believe.
Yes.
And they had the Russian general there, and he kind of looks over at the Chinese guy and he goes, see, here's the thing. They're coming up with these new ships, the Americans. We let them go through all the hassle of building these and coming up with these.
Yes.
They'll sell us the designs. We'll make a bunch more in half the time.
Correct.
See? And I mean, granted, that was very much, kind of like the beginnings of like all the countries will work together.
Yeah.
Kind of attitude, which not really, but
nice in theory, but it never works out that way.
Not really now. Like, I mean, they still had they tried to make it as realistic as possible, but it's like, hey, aliens will unify countries typically. At least you'd hope. But it was that, and it was just this funny, the Americans do all the work, and us Russians and Chinese will just,
That's pretty much how all of Asia developed. They took the values of Western capitalist societies and they implemented it, in their various regions. So Singapore is a fantastic example of that, where there used to be a colony and they were agricultural and fishing based. And within 30, 40 years, they've now become one of the most successful financial hubs. And what did they just took what you guys did.
Yeah.
They understood the importance of free markets.
Ridiculously wealthy in Singapore.
Yeah. It's insanely wealthy in many parts. Hong Kong is another good example of that, low regulation, low taxation. So in fact, Milton Friedman back in the 70s did Free to Choose, which was a series about free market economics and stuff like that. And somebody actually redid it. Like they revamped it, went back to Hong Kong, went back to all these places. And the people in Hong Kong were basically saying that the West has forgotten the foundations that they taught us. Like they forgot what makes a country wealthy. And they're actually saying they want to send almost like missionaries, business missionaries back to the West to say, what the hell are you doing? You need to get back to free market economics. But yeah, this is where we're at right now. It's a complete reversal.
Yeah. I remember Singapore. Lamborghinis everywhere.
Yeah, it was very, very wealthy.
Well, you remember how much it costed to get a license to own a car?
No, I knew it was expensive. I knew the cars were expensive. It was like $60,000 for a Toyota or some nonsense.
Yes, well, it's 60,000 to get a license to own a car.
Was it 60,000 to get a
So
license?
you needed a permit to own, basically.
Right. Okay.
Which is 60,000. You don't even have the car yet. You got to pay 60,000 just to have a permit to own it.
Yeah. Because it's a small island. At the end of the day, it does not have a lot of space.
And then all the what was it? The fuel, like all the restrictions they had, like don't rev your engine, a lot of fuel controls, engine noise controls. Heck, they even have like water use controls.
Yeah. But it's transformed. It is one of the wealthiest places right now. Yeah. So the West, in a lot of ways, and this isn't just the US, I would say the same thing for Europe, is fading. And in fact, a lot of like the top business people that I've been in touch with, they're giving up their homes in London. They're giving up their homes in New York. They're looking to Asia. They're looking at Latin America. Like Bolivia is probably one of the free market places in Latin America. And yeah, they're kind of moving enterprise. They just kind of realize the way this progressive ideology is moving, it's just going to destroy the nations. And I mean, we're seeing it. We're seeing secession fever in the US like never before, even among states. Like a couple states in, Oregon, they want to join up with Idaho. So there's the whole push.
Counties?
Yeah, the counties in the states. Yeah, that's the counties. They want to leave Oregon and they want to join with Idaho.
What the heck?
And there's a couple of them in Colorado as well that want to join with, I don't know, is it Wyoming that's south of Colorado? Whatever is south of Colorado. Right. So yeah, the whole thing is shifting. Oh, you didn't hear about this? Yeah. No. That's actually a thing. The Greater Idaho, it actually, the phase 1 is to take from Oregon, and phase 2 actually takes Northern California. So what would have been the state of Jefferson. It's all the agricultural areas. It's all the farmlands, very conservative, all of these things. They're like, why are we being ruled by these progressive idiots in Los Angeles and San Francisco, giving us like, air pollution limits and stuff like that when the air in these places are completely fine. So yeah, there is a secession fever is definitely afoot in the United States. That's all over Europe. The UK has the same thing. Wales is talking about.
Oh yeah, Scotland. I mean, for you guys, leaving the EU is definitely spreading.
Oh yeah, no, the EU is done, right? They just don't know it. So I mean, I think Norway. Well, Norway's not in it, but Netherlands. The Netherlands are looking to get out. Germany should really get out. Italy should get out. Cyprus, Greece. The project has failed. The idea that you can institute this top-down bureaucratic monstrosity and somehow create freedom and equality and all that stuff, it obviously doesn't work. But we keep doing it. We keep trying it. We learned nothing from the USSR. We're going to do it all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
hopeful,
crazy.
Huh?
Yeah, well, I think it's great. I think with the dissolving of, the nation states as we have it today is something left over from the Enlightenment era back in the 1800s. And we're seeing that it doesn't work. We don't need all of these massive countries and stuff like that. We can have agreements with countries like NATO and defensive pacts and stuff like that. But more and more people want self-rule based on, their own cultures and traditions and language and religions and other things. Why do we need these kind of massive structures? So I think the trend will continue, honestly.
Well, I was actually just looking up another thing here quick.
So do you remember that story about Trump and the Georgia State Senate, and he was on a call and everybody was saying he was trying to find...
Was it New York Times retracted it?
Washington Post. Yeah.
Washington Post retracted the article on that.
Yeah. So, it's actually kind of scary because we had a discussion about that, and the Washington Post, CNN, New York Times, all of these kind of progressive outlets, all of them said that this was verified and this was like they heard the recording and this is close, sources and whatever. And it turned out to be complete bullshit. I mean, we knew it was bullshit once we heard the recording, but every news outlet followed suit completely, following down this rabbit hole. And yeah, as you said, they've had to retract it. CNN didn't actually retract it. A lot of these outlets actually didn't. They just put an editor's note saying that, things we thought were quotes were actually not quotes. But it shows again how the media has just been flat out lying, to push their agenda.
What do we got here?
What have you got there?
What? No.
What's that?
Biden's been trying to contact Kim Jong-un for over a month, but he'll only take Trump's call.
Yeah. This is what I was telling you, how Kim Jong-un his sister made a statement that they don't want Biden fucking up what's been going on. And it looks like if Biden is really in cahoots with China has a proxy to kind of restart the hot war with North Korea. So they don't actually want to deal with Biden simply because in their eyes, he's compromised and he's going to basically fuck it all up again to give China what they want.
Causing a stink at its first step. On Monday, hours after the White House said it did not receive a response to its outreach to Pyongyang. We take this opportunity to warn the new U.S. administration trying hard to give off powder smell in our land. Well,
yeah.
If it wants to sleep in peace for the coming 4 years, it better refrain from causing a stink at its first step.
Yeah. I mean, I understand Pyongyang's position on that because everybody knows Biden isn't even home, right? The lights are on, but nobody's home. And yeah, China can use him as a proxy to kind of put pressure to, again, push the Americans further.
Well, here's the thing.
Away.
If anyone knows anything about what former presidents can do, former presidents can actually still serve the current administration.
At the behest
they
of
have complete clearance.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not they have access is up to the current administration.
Correct.
So, I bet like Obama and Clinton to some degree can act as advisors to Biden, to the Biden administration. Excuse me. So, but they don't typically cross party lines to get so Bush and Trump are probably not being referenced or called upon in any of this.
Correct.
But they do have that access if they give it. So if they want, they could get Trump could be like an interim liaison, or a stand-in liaison between North Korea and Biden.
Yeah. In theory, it could happen. Not that it's going
whether
to.
They would actually, whether the Biden administration would actually.
No. Whether China will allow Trump to be an emissary. That's the real question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's how Israel, Korea, South Korea, they all kind of voiced it as, we don't really want to deal with Biden because basically we're dealing with the CCP. That's kind of the diplomatic way of saying what's going on there. But not like Biden is doing anything anyway. I mean, he's gone how many days without a State of the Union? How many days without a press conference? How many days without
90 days, I think we're coming up on.
How many days without actually taking any real questions? It's like almost 90 days now. I think he's coming up on the 100. So yeah, Biden's not there.
He's not. Yeah, there's all he's done is he'll just go in front of the people and say something and leave.
Yeah.
Like
and barely say something at that. Right?
Everyone gave Trump and Pence a lot of crap towards the end because they wouldn't answer questions.
Yeah,
and I can kind of see, okay, fine. I see, but now to reciprocate the sentiment, no one is calling him out.
No,
it's only the right that's calling out, like Biden and Kamala, for not giving any real press conferences.
Correct.
It's just Psaki, whatever her name is, that's just circling around everyone.
Yeah. I'll circle back.
Circle around. Yeah.
In other good news, George Floyd's family is going to get $27 million from the Council of Minneapolis. Isn't that good news?
So the reason they could do that so easily, so basically a left-wing city council was elected on an off year where no one really cared, so they could basically slip in there. Slid in there. All 13 of them got in. 13-0 unanimous vote to grant the $27 million to George Floyd's family.
Yes.
Now I can see politically why, like, okay, giving them something, but $27 million.
Yes.
What? And so it's at that point, it's purely a political thing. It's not, yes, great for George Floyd's family, but
sure,
holy crap, that's way too much money to just give out. Like,
it was probably the police budget. It was probably the remainder of the police budget for the year, because they also defunded the police.
All those people are not running for re-election.
No, they're done.
They're just like, oh, we slipped it under the radar. We're gonna do all this stuff, and on top of that, $500,000 granted to the George Floyd Autonomous Zone.
Yes, which is the next thing I was going to mention, that there's another autonomous zone, and if I'm not mistaken, somebody's already been shot dead from it. They're going to give $500,000. Yeah, I think I might have that wrong. There might be another one somewhere, but somebody's been dead. Somebody got dead at another autonomous zone. I think it was the George Floyd one. But the state is funded it with $500,000. What the fuck is wrong with your state, Amos? Like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. Because I've driven by there. I've never been in there, but I've driven by there. I've seen pictures of the place.
Yes.
Other than being like a memorial to George Floyd, which I see why, but it's kind of gone beyond. Like, I am not seeing. Like, it's a pretty busy area before, so it's disrupting the kind of the flow of traffic in the area. There are businesses in there, which I'm wondering if maybe those people aren't working anymore. So there's that job loss, unless the walking traffic brings in customers. And then it's kind of a mess. Like, it's not a maintained place.
Because there's no municipalities and garbage men going in there.
Yeah, so you go in there and there's trash. There's a lot of dead plants because of flowers and such.
Yeah.
And in the middle is a lot of like pictures and stuff, and then there's just one giant wooden fist pointing up.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's just the big old fist.
The power fist. The black.
Yeah, the power fist pointing up. Just big old wooden power fist. That's there. So again, I see everything that's going on. Now that Derek Chauvin is even on trial, they're working through that. That's a whole nother hot and steamy pile of a lot of things.
I mean, it's pretty obvious he's going to get off, because everything he did was within regulation. Yeah, and that's going to kick them off again. But to be honest, they don't need a reason to kick off. They wanted to kick off anyway, right? I mean, this bunch of people burned down the city center.
Yeah, there was. I mean, you can like, it's totally justified, and like you have to look into what he did. Like, he definitely abused his power as a policeman. No one is arguing against that. It's just the way the entire proceeding has been shoved through.
Yeah.
And how the standards and expectations of how it should have gone through is being pushed through the roof, because at first they were like, no, first degree all the way.
Yeah, couldn't do it.
No, you can't. No, it's just legally.
You can't prove intent.
Second degree, not really either. Third degree,
the third degree.
Maybe.
Yeah,
third degree was a pretty strong case if they really stuck with it, but the people just weren't taking that. Correct. That mob mentality was just like, no, first degree or we burn more of the city down. It's like, why?
This is why you don't negotiate with terrorists, which leftists have never understood. And I wish the right would fucking remember this. You never acquiesce to the mob. You give them an inch, they're going to want a mile. So if they did not allow these things to get out of hand and they actually cracked down on it early, they wouldn't have the leverage that they have now where they could actually threaten burning down the city, because they already got away with that. They already did that, and the police didn't come and crack down on it. They didn't, put anything in place. None of those people were prosecuted. They were all bailed out. So now they have free reign to hold the city council hostage over this issue.
Well, they're not really holding the city council hostage when the city council doesn't care. Because
obviously they do care, because
none of them is being reelected now.
No, I get it, but they are trying. That's why they kept trying to move the charges. They were trying to find what would stick. But obviously he's going to get off. What he did was regulation. It was something he was taught. He was trying to protect his officers and whatever. Outcome was tragic, and nobody wanted that outcome. But it was completely legal. He was well within the bounds of what he was trained to do, and they know it. That's the problem.
No. Talking to multiple police officers, the action he took with the knee.
Not in Minneapolis. It was legal. It was something he was trained to do. Yeah.
No. So the knee on the neck thing. There's a specific way you're supposed to do it. I have friends who are officers that said you use that as a temporary measure that maybe 10, 20 seconds at most.
Right. But what he did
was 8 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah. But again, it was something he was taught. He was told to do that. And even George Floyd requests is like, put me on the ground. I'm freaking out and stuff like that. What he did was to restrain him in that position. As terrible as it was, he was trained to do that. That hold was legal. Now, of course, there's situational circumstances, how long and this, that, and the other. That'll all be determined in court. But
I get that. There's clear lines. Like Chauvin was following procedures but abusing procedures.
That has to be proven, and that's the problem. They don't think they could actually make that.
Because the knee on the back is a totally accepted thing to do for a long period of time.
The knee on the neck is an accepted practice.
Only for a short period of time.
That's not what the Commissioner of Police came forward to say, but that's what will be determined in court.
Yeah. Well,
but it is an accepted procedure, especially if the person they think is on drugs.
I get that.
You don't leave them for 10 seconds and then take your knee off, kind of.
Because I've got a friend who worked in a local police area nearby, and then also I have people who I know who work in the Duluth Police Department. They all said, yes, that is a procedure you use, but only for 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, you're really pushing it. 8 minutes, what are you even doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what'll have to be figured out in court.
Yeah. But this is the thing is, because of the mob basically forcing the court's hand, and they're not doing any favors for the jury, because all the jury is seeing is the violence.
Correct.
So what's been happening right now is some of the jurors' statements have been released to the public. Yes, obviously no names because they'd be screwed, but the jurors have been making statements that are completely focusing on the wrong part of. Well, it's not, and it's because of the mob. So the mob is just
scared. Yeah,
the uproar of the mob is influencing how the jury is viewing the case.
Correct.
Therefore, the case could be lost before they even go anywhere, which would then trigger the mob more.
I mean, the mob is going to be retriggered one way or the other. I don't think that's avoidable, but you're exactly right. Because I think at the courthouse itself, they have a number of barricades up and a lot of perimeter, and the jurors have to walk through that. They know what's kind of going on. It's very hard for them to kind of remain objective. And I know at least one of them has already come out and said, I'm worried about my family. I'm worried about, the as you say, the mob coming after them.
Yeah. In a way, I kind of how the British go about it, where you cannot interfere, you cannot interact with the jury. The jury has to be protected in a way, don't they?
Not always. Depends on the crime, but yeah, we sequester them in a hotel or whatever. They don't have any, but you guys do the same thing. There are some court cases in the US. They're not even allowed cameras. There's no interaction. That's why you see like drawings of the courtroom and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It depends on the state and it depends on,
Yeah.
different things. But that's a thing.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah,
that's pretty wild. How are you feeling since your vaccine? Any further side effects or anything?
Let me just.
Is your dick still attached? Does it still work?
Yes.
Good. So have you seen that a number of European countries have discontinued the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine over concerns of blood clotting?
So from what I saw, was it Denmark? I saw it. Denmark had the.
Yeah, it's Denmark, Norway, Iceland, Ireland, France, Netherlands, Luxembourg,
the one
Italy.
that saw that. So who caught the who had the death from that vaccine?
All of them had deaths from the vaccine. Well, they had blood from blood clotting, and it's above the statistical average. So all of these countries have stopped administering the vaccine.
Okay, because again, this is where I kind of look to, okay, what are the exact numbers? How many people have had it already, to see like where, because every vaccine that I know of has had, like, vaccines in general give you bad reactions. And when, from what I read on the AstraZeneca vaccine, reactions were quite, like, the most severe reactions was like a fever.
No. The most severe reaction is death.
No, the most severe reactions in their trials was
no. It was death. When the animals were tested, they died.
When was that?
I mean, the pharmaceutical industry has been working on coronavirus vaccines since SARS-1, right? So M1N1 was like the first attempt at this kind of stuff, and it stopped because all of the trials made the patients worse. So they tested on like the rodents and the monkeys and stuff, and they all died when they were re-exposed to the virus. So,
well, I'm talking about the specific one that they were using right now.
They don't have any variant.
I think it's called it's called AZ some number. The specific one they're using right now.
Yeah, they don't have any trial information on this. This is completely new and completely experimental. It's never been tested in humans before. So they don't have anything to go off of in that respect.
I guess at this point I could just say that I'm part of that trial, right?
Yeah, you are the human test subject at this point.
So it's weird that a lot of this stuff is mainly like that. So the AstraZeneca vaccine is the trial that I'm part of. So surprisingly,
are you allowed to say that? I don't know. Maybe
I just said it. So
you might have to edit that out. But okay, I don't want to get you in trouble.
No. That's because I've asked them about it. Now they said, yeah, you can talk about it. Like,
okay, fair enough.
Like there's no NDA involved.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
It's just a consent form. So,
all
right. Yeah. Now they're gonna. I'm in here.
Kill the stream.
Oh no!
Time to go. We got a little box for you.
No, yeah. So, the specific variant that they're having us test, there was actually people that had started using, like, on the trial. So they didn't just start them all at once. There were waves of it, different phases of it. So, there was like there was a similar one they tested in the Oxford study. Oxford did a study, and the worst of it was a small group of people caught transverse myelitis.
Right.
There was that. They said, so there is that I said, well, how many people are in it right now? They said about 30 or 40,000 people. I said, what have they developed? They have not developed any transverse myelitis. I said, okay. What is the worst reaction? I said, maybe a fever.
Right. So far.
And this is for the US trials.
Yes. Yeah.
I've had my second dose for months now. And nothing.
Have they checked you for blood clots?
So they do blood tests.
Okay. Yeah,
but I haven't experienced anything that would indicate anything close to blood clots. Like
no pain.
No pain,
like,
motor function's fine,
Yeah.
headaches, nothing of that. No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in any way suggesting that every person who gets the vaccine is going to have those symptoms.
Yeah, and the thing I'm getting at is like, I understand there's definitely like, it's really sketchy how quickly all these companies just pushed out a vaccine so quickly,
Mhm.
and some of them are still in trial. Like
They're all still in
AstraZeneca
trial.
is, huh?
They're all still in trial because there was no clinical trials for any of this stuff.
Yeah, they basically went off of very, very like if there was any trial, it was like, all right, everything looks good so far, we got to get it out there. So they get their FDA emergency use. It's a bit of a money grab for
Of
sure.
course.
So it gets out there. And there were, most of the time, from what I've read, the bad reactions, while are real, they're real. It's not like they didn't happen. Weren't as prevalent as like, it wasn't like, okay, 1,000 people took the vaccine and 100 people got like deadly reactions. It was like a couple people, like, so couple percent, which is still not good.
Well, you know what VAERS is, right? The vaccine amino reaction database. I think that's what it's called, something like that. There's actually a website where it's called VAERS, and it tracks vaccine reactions. And it doesn't capture every reaction. You know, obviously not everybody's reporting and stuff like that. It's thought to get about like 1 to 2% of, you know, the reactions. Let's just say the amount of reports that have been coming in on not just the AstraZeneca, but the Pfizer and all of them has been statistically above average. So it's not going to be everyone, of course, but there's definitely a lot of reaction.
That's the thing, is like, it's like, hypothetically, if there were aliens and there was only a specific type of weapon that could kill these aliens, so the government contracts out to go, okay, we need to get this weapon to as many people as possible, and a percentage of those jam or blow up.
Yeah, a fair analogy.
And then it'd be like, this is the problem.
Is the weapon
we're fighting the aliens, guys, but
we're killing ourselves
too many
and
guns
doing
blowing
up. Yeah, that's I think that's a fair analogy of what's taking place.
So I'm thinking like, I don't know what to really think, because like, okay, because we're trying to see like, because there's been testing on the effectiveness, so there's an effectiveness to it.
There's nothing. In fact, we out here in the UK,
AstraZeneca was like 80%. The Pfizer one was like 90%.
No, they can say that all they want. As I was just about to say, we just had an entire nursing home out here in the UK vaccinated, and they all died of COVID. So we got 9 people in one home and 15 in another home in 2 different areas, all vaccinated, all died. So it doesn't even work, right? We know it's not a vaccine, right? It's not an actual thing. It's supposed to reduce your symptoms, but there's no human trials.
Which vaccine was that one?
I believe it was AstraZeneca, because the UK and Europe tends to use the Oxford AstraZeneca. I don't know. They're not releasing that information. So we really don't know. And the thing about the mRNA animal trials, as I say, you can go back and look when SARS-1 came out. You know, we have coronavirus 2, COVID 2. You must ask the question, what happened to COVID 1? So that's the H1N1. Yeah, SARS, right? SARS and MERS and these.
Well, H1N1's different.
Well, right, that would be MERS. That was swine flu. So they've been doing these development things since 2002, and none of these vaccines have ever worked. In fact, to this day, we do not have a vaccine or a cure for coronavirus. So this is completely experimental. But the problem is, what we see in the animal trials is, even though they develop the immunities, they actually become hypersensitive to the virus. So they have the immunities for one part of the virus, but everything else spikes, and they're more susceptible, and they all die when they're re-exposed. So we have no animal trials. We have no clinical trials. Everybody is screaming, yeah, it's safe, it's safe. The World Health Organization is screaming, yeah, it's safe. They said that for the swine flu. We had Dr. Fauci, we had all of the NHS, we had the World Health Organization, the CDC. The swine flu vaccine is fine, except that it causes narcolepsy.
Part of the swine flu vaccine?
He was part of promoting it. Yeah. And that was the one that caused narcolepsy. And the same thing. The drug companies had immunity and all of these different types of things. And the government fought it to the last until they finally had to admit, no, the vaccine was actually, it was causing narcolepsy. So again, I'm not saying don't get the vaccine. I'm just saying we learn from history that when all of this, there's this much propaganda on something this experimental, people have a right to be skeptical. I mean, I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just not going to rush into it because I've seen how these people have dealt with vaccines in the past. Yeah. So yeah, it's keep me posted, bro. I don't want you passing out on me. I mean, how are we going to do for the podcast, bro?
Yeah, that's the concern. What about the podcast, bro?
The podcast, man. We have fans. We got to live up to their expectations.
Yeah. No, I should be fine. I mean,
I don't think you're at high risk in any real capacity, to be fair.
Yeah. Just thought of something. I wonder if it's because of my, my half and half bloodline.
It's possible.
Like,
are you saying there's a eugenic component to the vaccine?
Yes.
Ironically, in Kenya, they actually did find, I think, HCG or something, which has been known to be associated with infertility, stamped into the COVID vaccine. That's like a verified report that they found a batch that had that in it. Well, I'm not saying that's the rule, and I'm not even suggesting anything. I'm just saying
kind of a random topic, because we're coming up. We're about 2/3 into the show, and I wanted to kind of you just reminded me of something. So we talked about the eugenic. We're not talking about eugenics, guys, but
eugenics bad.
You brought up an interesting
eugenics
point.
Bad.
So
we're going to talk about the Jews?
No, never. What are you talking about? Now we're really in trouble.
Okay, yeah, this podcast being taken down, man.
No. No, we'll have Spike Cohen on and talk about the Jews.
yeah, that's it.
So, and I don't know how much. So, okay, this I haven't checked this. I haven't verified this. But I was just, what was it? Was it a podcast I was listening to? Maybe it was. So, birth control.
For men or women?
Women.
Uh-huh.
So one of the things, there were studies that I've heard of. This is somewhat known. Like, I know you can look this up. There was even like Discovery Channel. They did this too, where they had like a group of men basically play a basketball game, and they're all wearing these sort of like white sports shirts and stuff. Basically, they had these guys play very rigorous game basketball where they all started sweating, and then they would seal these shirts and have women smell the shirts.
Okay, for the pheromones.
To basically detect, to see if like the human body has if they can detect pheromones and such. And the women who had the man who had the most pleasing smell had sort of the most genetic diversity to offer to a mate. Genetic diversity can bring things, just overall healthier, more diverse immunities. Antibodies is a bit tricky, but basically the immune system is more adaptable.
Correct.
So it just shows like, women to a degree. Now it's not like, we have like, this is like really, like, you take it a shirt that's clean, that's just only sweat, you're smelling it. Like, you're not going to get to do that in real life, really. You unless you're like
really close.
With all the with all the smells we have going on in the world.
Yes.
Cologne, other smells that men usually would have.
Farts, bad
breath. It would. Yeah,
under
you're in a restaurant.
Yeah,
you're not going right up to the man and like,
Believe in yourself.
So, but it's an interesting thing to look into. Now, so yeah, they're saying, oh, these women have a tendency to like gravitate towards the smell of a man with more genetic diversity, right? Great.
Okay.
Birth control
Mm-hmm.
can do the opposite.
Really?
So there was another study done where they did it with where women who are in female birth control. They found discrepancies in the study that basically women with female birth control, basically because it does something with the hormones.
Yes.
The hormones can affect a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
Where they were more attracted to the smell of men with less diversity genetically.
Interesting.
So
wait. Let me just get this straight. So the women were on birth control.
Yeah.
So the first group, they weren't on birth control. Smell the shirts.
I think they said overall, right? Like those women, I think some were on it. So it like there's obviously going to be like discrepancies in data. So they wanted to look further, and they found out that it was birth control was a factor.
Okay, so let's just get it straight. So the first test group, there was a mixture of women on and off, but the data seems to suggest they like the diversity in terms of the pheromones, right? Mm-hmm. So then they took a sample group of women on birth control, and what was the outcome? It was the reverse, where they preferred people of like a more, I guess, less diverse genetic makeup. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
So birth control is part of a eugenics program? Is that what you're suggesting?
No. So they said, what if, like, because what can happen is people tend to get together. Mm-hmm. Like in the world of dating today, most women in general are on some form of birth control or another. It's very rare they're not doing anything at all. They're like there's a pill, there's a patch, there's an implant of some sort.
Sure.
Something. So what if the fact is they'll meet a guy, fall in love with him, and then when they're married, or let's say they've been together a while and they decide to have a kid, she gets off birth control.
And her preferences have changed.
And the preferences change.
Interesting.
Now, this is not like saying, oh, it's a controlling people or whatever, but anyone who kind of looks into like, hormones and like the difference between the genders and how they interact with each other with mating and such, it's obvious like we are attracted to different things at different times of the day and different times of the month.
Yes.
For both, different times of the year even.
Yes.
But for it, so it's not too far-fetched to look into if certain drugs that mess with hormones could also do the same thing.
It's a very interesting proposition. I've never heard of that.
So they were saying, like, what if this explains why a lot of these people are like, why is marriage such a touchy thing? Because people will get together under one set of preferences due to their hormones being messed with birth control. Mm-hmm. Yes, they're being smart. They're not going to get pregnant.
Right.
But it's changing their preferences. And then they get off of that to have a kid. And all of a sudden they like something, and it's not like prevalent. It's not like all of a sudden they're like, once the birth control like wears off, they're like, who are you? No, it's like,
I kind of
just,
you better have a good personality too,
But it just kind of changes a bit. And it's like, where's all this unhappiness all of a sudden just reveal partway through a marriage?
That's fascinating. I've never heard that before. And I think you'd be right, because there are hormones that are kind of playing into sexual reproduction and of course the time of the month and stuff like that.
Yeah. Like,
so
we've looked into like how women will wear different colors of clothing, different times of the month.
Yeah.
Their sexual preferences are a little bit different. Their way of pursuing a mate are a bit differently too.
Correct.
Same thing for men. It's not just a woman thing. Ours are more, I think for men, it's stretched over a longer time frame. Women, it's on a more monthly scale. Men, it could be on a multi-month. And there's a lot of other factors too, just because of the differences in our reproductive systems. Like that could be a whole nother thing. Like, I mean, especially now with COVID, with people being indoors, people are using a lot of internet porn that also affects men because you and I have talked about how like men who tend to masturbate too much can have certain not problems, but hormonally there's a difference.
Yes.
Um,
And it could spill over into the bedroom and other places.
Yeah, and I there were guys I actually heard that talked about this. They actually said, yeah, like obviously, like guys do masturbate.
Mhm.
This is not groundbreaking. Guys do, but some guys will actually time it. So what they'll do is there's some guys that I know they timed it to a certain time frame where if they don't for a few days, their productivity kind of goes up.
Right.
And then it kind of tapers off after a few days. So then they masturbate, and then it kind of resets.
Oh, this is right. Okay, this is kind of that.
It's not your no fap nonsense, but it's kind of like timing.
Yeah, like fap rhythm or something. Like
yeah, because it's like, and I've definitely like heard of that. Like there's like young kids, young guys. As soon as you're into puberty and stuff, you're a little kid and you figure out how to do everything. You're like, kids are just going at it all the time.
Sure.
But then when you kind of figure it out, now you got to like, okay, well, this can obviously affect different parts. Like porn is everywhere. Sex is everywhere with how we talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's obviously affecting kids and it's affecting young adults and even full-grown adults. So it's interesting how people learn about kind of figure this stuff out. But yeah, this is kind of the part of that bigger topic of just like hormones changing, your preferences and such. Like men will definitely like feel the difference. We'll just say men and women.
It's interesting. I'd never heard that theory before, so I'm going to look into it. So, I mean, what are you kind of driving at? The hormone industry is, trying to create,
big hormone.
Big hormone is trying to do like segregation. Is that what you're saying?
No. It's just kind of, I think it's kind of like one of those unintended side effects of sort of these big social like changes we have. On one hand, like we're doing all this and we think like, yeah, this is going to help. Birth control, I think, is a great thing for men and women, but holy crap, when you're finding about all the stuff that it could do to us and how it affects all these things, kind of makes you wonder, like, what is the real cost that we're willing to deal with? Definitely, like, I guess I would be considered, a genetically diverse person.
Sure.
Just with that would be, good in that way, but obviously there's other factors to that. So that's not everything. Like all the genetic part of it is obviously like, this is where it's like, we're not talking about eugenics. Like I'm not saying focus on that, but it's an interesting thing to look into. Yeah.
I mean, I remember, I can't remember how old I was, and I don't know if the study's been debunked or what, but I get what you're saying about the diversity thing. In fact, there was a study that was done when they took a picture of, I think it was like 4 racial groups or maybe 5, I can't remember. And they started to blend the features, and they found that the more blended the features, the more attractive that person became to all of the races. So OkCupid, for instance, did a sample of what men find attractive. And if I recall right, Middle Eastern women were kind of the top of the echelon, right? They were the top. Yeah, Middle Eastern women were first. Whites and Caucasians were second, and then it was kind of Spanish, Hispanic, and then I think it was like Asian, and then Black, right? I think that was that. I might have it wrong. I can't remember the study exactly.
I remember. Yeah, we've talked about this before. Like, OkCupid found out what are the 2 most. So for men and women, what are the least attractive?
Yeah.
And it's Asian men and Black women.
Yeah, so it was Black women at the bottom and Asian men at the bottom. But what they also found in a different studies when they started to mix the people. So when the whites and the Asians got together, they were appealing to both whites and Asians, right? So they had both sets of features and stuff like that. So I could get the diversity side of it, that there might be something to that, both visually appealing and genetically, the diversity and stuff like that. So it's an interesting point. I never considered what the hormones would do. And I wonder if she's not fertile, like if her body knows that she can't actually produce kids, maybe she's not tapping into the need for the genetic material as much through the hormones. So it might actually trick the brain to say, because we know we can't actually get pregnant, it's not looking for what it would normally look for, which is good genetic stock, right?
Whereas you have women who are very fertile who will like, yeah.
And I mean, one of the other consequences of this birth control thing, just a slight side topic on that, it's in our water.
Yep.
Right. There's massive amounts of estrogen and other things that is in our drinking water. It's not filtered out. I think that you could filter it out with like carbon filters and other things, but you do need to have a process to do that. But yeah, it's not helping.
You use a carbon filter, right?
Yeah, I got like a lump of carbon that I have in the drinking water. Here is very clean, but I have a coal piece that's in it, and I have a full distillery that I could like do the full evaporation distillery.
Because I just got a Brita filter.
I think there might be carbon in that, so that might help.
There's some sort of metal mineral thing that's in there.
Yeah, they usually
I just
put
got a basic like water pitcher, so I just fill it up every day.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Filters through. I mean the water, like it's because I've had tap water and it's fine. It's just not really good. Like just the taste and everything.
Yeah, you probably get metals and other
things. We got
Make-the-Biz
in the chat. This is actually interesting. Massive amounts of estrogen in soy products. So something really interesting. I was talking to someone about soy products, and we were talking about how like excuse me the what a phytoestrogen, the stuff with how it can disrupt. But there was another point that was brought up that I didn't consider. Regular soy products, like if I ate like soybean type, very basic soybean products versus fermented soy products.
Right. Yeah, there is a difference. The fermented is better, apparently.
Yeah, fermented soy products are actually better.
Yeah.
Versus regular like pure
unprocessed soy. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So and fermented soy products tend to taste better too. In general, they're more.
What's a fermented soy product? I don't eat any of that
soy
stuff,
sauce.
So I wouldn't know. Soy. Okay, fine. All right. Yeah.
Tofu to a degree, depending on the type of tofu you're eating.
Right. Okay, makes sense.
Because I was thinking to myself, like, well, granted, I still at some point I had to go like get blood work done just to see like if it's ever affected me. But
yeah,
growing up with all the tofu and soy sauce I had in Taiwan, and all the people around me having it, there isn't some like soy boy problem in Taiwan.
I don't know what the people. America. I would say of most Asians, there isn't that very masculine frame, like the V taper frame. They tend to look very stickly, kind of, yeah, not the V taper. So that could be a reflection of the overconsumption of the soy. Obviously I don't know. I'm not trying to suggest anything.
Reproduce just fine.
yeah, you can. I mean, even with very low testosterone, you can reproduce, right? It's sperm, right? You don't need a lot. But I mean, for you and me, yeah, we probably have. I know I had lower testosterone because I have, I'm carrying more weight, of visceral fat. If you want a sign of low testosterone, putting on extra body fat is a clear sign that your testosterone is not metastasizing and you don't have as much free testosterone. It doesn't mean you can't function, right? Even if you're skinny, right? They had the Try guys from Vice, I think. They came out and they did a blood test to try and figure out which one of them was the sexiest, and they all had like grandpa level testosterone.
Yeah, it was saying, Western soy tends to be different from Eastern soy. Yeah, it's the processing, possibly. It's the fermentation, it's the way by which they make it into food. Like,
yeah, correct.
Yeah, I mean, I don't consume really much soy products in general. But when I would do it's usually just like soy sauce or something. Soy sauce, tofu. It's if I'm with family or I'm at a Chinese restaurant, if that. Yeah. Other than that, not really. So it isn't.
Get yourself checked, man. It's always, as we get older, we need to be on top of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 28, getting real old.
Bro, you'd be surprised. When I went for like a checkup back in Trinidad, I want to make sure my stuff was working and everything like that. There was like a 17-year-old kid, a young man, East Indian descent, and he was having low testosterone problems at that age, at like what would be considered his prime.
Too much tikka masala.
Something was happening to him. They really couldn't understand it, and he was on Viagra. He was on all sorts of things. At
17 on Viagra?
At 17. You would be surprised at the amount of people.
Hard.
Yeah, it's society's changed. I mean, that could be porn as well. It could be a psychological thing as well. So we don't know, but
which is putting that's a whole nother thing too. Yeah.
We're putting so much shit and chemicals out there. Guys, eat real food. Eat like your ancestors. Go and hunt
eat
and
your
kill.
Ancestors. What?
Well, there we go. That might be an interesting take. But yeah, have real food. All of this processed nonsense beyond burgers. Processed vegetable oil that they're calling hot dogs. And it
doesn't even
hamburgers.
have to be some crazy like. I know you're doing carnivore, and I know a lot of people doing keto.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be that ambitious. We'll even say
no,
like just eating
real food,
lesser processed foods.
Yeah, cashew nuts, vegetables, fruits, real meat. That's food.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I've done is just to stay away from really any like processed sugars recently.
Good.
Yeah, like because then of course like the big one was cutting out soda pop and stuff, like
that's
mainly high fructose corn syrup heavy types of things. Just plus I've just found like high fructose corn syrup. So have you tasted the difference between regular sugar and high fructose corn syrup?
Yes, I have. I've been in 2 countries where they have the 2 different types.
Yeah, and I started to notice that, and I was just like, yeah, it's sweet, but it's just like the only word I can think of. Obviously, it isn't. It's similar in effect, but it's like there's sweet, and then there's like narcotic sweet,
right?
Like a sweet that you can feel in your head. Like
Fair
you're just
enough.
like, you get that like sort of there's that triggering effect in your brain of like high fructose corn syrup because it's sweet, it's high in sugar.
Yeah.
It kind of messes with your chemistry a bit where you can feel the sugar high, whereas like regular sugar, it's like, oh, it tastes good. There's a flavor, there's a taste, and you're fine with it. You're not sitting there like, feeling it.
Yeah, I would agree because I'm one of those crazy people who can taste the subtle differences in some of these drinks. So I could spot diet sodas. I can spot, I had no problem telling the difference between Pepsi.
Oh, that's such a weird sweet that I just do not like.
Yeah, it's, somebody's trying to tell me, oh yeah, it's good for you, less calories and stuff like that. I don't want processed stuff.
Aspartame was an accidental chemical that has like neurological problems.
It has some funky side products that come out from that, right? So yeah, it may have 0 calories, but it's not natural. Your body doesn't know how to deal with that. It's never had to deal with that in our ancestry. So I'm one of those weird people. Even to this day, if I'm having a drink, it's rum and Coke, natural Coke, like the original Coke. I don't want no Coke Zero. I don't even want the vanilla Coke.
Yeah, one thing I've done is because you can still get this some places.
Mm-hmm.
Real sugar Mountain Dew.
That would be better than the other stuff for sure.
And I've tried it, and a couple things. The sweet is a lot less. Like I said, it's that you feel like you're doing a drug because that's the feeling it gives your body. Whereas with this, there's just more of the flavor.
Yeah.
And the caffeine isn't as heavy either. So you're not just like, it's not like you take a sip and you're up for all the night. But that's another thing too. I haven't had a lot of that. So I'm sleeping better.
Good.
Unless it's like, okay, maybe I'll have a little something on like a day off so I can afford to, have my sleep disrupted a little bit just to taste good. But it's like, but that's the thing. Now my body is sensitive to that. It's reacting more. So it's like, okay, it's good. I'm not used to this.
Yeah.
Because I've been in that place. I've told people, and I'll end with this. Like, this is a crazy thing that I've told people about Red Bull. Did I ever talk to you about Red Bull
No, I haven't heard this.
when I was on Red Bull?
No, I haven't heard this at all.
So you know that you've seen it, right? You've seen
Yeah,
the
I know
can.
what Red Bull is, and it's a
Yeah.
little can. Red Bull gives you wings. Tastes terrible as far as I'm concerned.
Have you tried it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've had it.
Did you get a nice jolt from it?
I mean, yeah, there's enough caffeine in there to like explode your balls, kind of thing. But yeah. I mean, I had Jolt Cola as well.
So there was they have these like 8.4 ounce cans, I think it is the smallest one. I don't know the exact number, but you can count as I go through this daily routine. Wake up, have one.
One of the small ones, the eight somethings, right?
I'd have that with something sweet.
Okay.
So that would kind of wake me up.
Okay.
So one there. One at the beginning of my shift.
Okay.
One on my break.
Okay.
One at the end of my shift.
Okay.
And then maybe one or two more towards the end of the day.
Holy fuck.
Here's how bad it got. So this is when I was working in fast food and I was a manager. So part of fast food and stuff is like their tills, or they're constantly changing up tills, money, getting the money set up. So I missed one. I missed a can. So I'm in the back office towards the end of my shift. I'm counting money. And I'm starting to feel a little something kind of coming on. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm counting. And I was like, I can't count.
Yeah. The withdrawals.
One can.
Yeah.
In a day of like 7 cans. And I could feel it. And I was like, because I'm basically, because what I'm doing, I have this whole system. I'm got pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters. And I'm sitting there, I'm like recounting pennies over and over and over again. I'm like, all right. And the place I worked at was connected to a gas station.
Right.
So I just walk across, I go buy one, I drink it.
Fine.
Normal. And I was like, and then that's when I was like noticing, I was like, okay, that's not good.
That's not.
Granted, I was young enough, my body can take a beating to just like, it's it's not good, but it's like I'm not gonna suffer too much. So that's when I would start like cutting it off.
Right.
Red Crusader is saying in the chat, how am I not dead? Exactly. I wasn't as big back then either, so it was a smaller body, but I was I would burn that energy running around, working. I will say, like, I mean, when you're on it, like, you're definitely focusing. Like, it does give you that, but the drawback drawback is massive. Like, like, I mean, this is the thing: is you see these like very productive, very focused people. Either it's got to be attained through discipline, or you're on something.
Yeah. I mean, I could speak very quickly because that combination of caffeine and sugar, that is a very serious mix. My grandmother, she had a coffee addiction, very much like what you're describing. I think she'd do like 8 or 9 cups of coffee a day. The Norwegians do like 10 to 14 sometimes. And if she went a day or like if she missed one of those like coffee breaks that she would have, she was done for the day. She would just shut down. She couldn't focus. She couldn't do anything. So yeah, I mean, it's not a surprise that is a combination. Everybody has an energy drink, right? Even Dan Bilzerian came out with whatever, energy drink. Why? Because that sugar caffeine combination is addictive.
Yeah.
And if you can get them hooked on it, you're
I mean,
the
worst of it was basically when I would cut off of it, I'd have about 2-3 days of headaches.
Yeah. You will get serious withdrawals, like almost drug feeling withdrawals. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not as bad. I've seen, I mean, the depictions of drug withdrawals are definitely worse, but it was basically just headaches, fatigue. You would sleep, like your sleep would everything has to readjust. Once you're done, you're definitely feeling like a little bit off for about a week, but that's at least the okay things about caffeine and sugar sort of withdrawals is it's kind of the least of the withdrawal symptoms of like substances. It's still pretty bad. Like
Yeah.
you're mentioning coffee addiction. I had
Yeah.
a teacher in high school that told us about caffeine. He used to work at some firm, and 5 or 6 pots of coffee a day.
Wow. Huh. 5 or 6 pots?
It was a pots.
Jesus.
No. Maybe.
Jesus Christ, man. Yeah.
Well, no. I think it was like for a small office of people, but basically,
Yeah,
maybe
not
have
just
like
one
10
guy. But
so maybe
yeah.
10, 12 cups a day, kind of craziness.
Yeah, I think the Norwegians have it. I think they're like, somebody could fact check me on this, but it's
Yeah.
like 15 cups is the average. So some people have more, some people have
Yeah, but it
less.
was just one of those offices where they have a coffee pot that's just constantly going,
Yeah. I know the
and
type.
everyone's just
I know the
drink.
type.
And he said he tried quitting over the summer, and it just like
Nearly
the
killed him.
headaches.
Yeah. No, it's a real thing. My grandmother had that. The food addiction. I went through the keto flu. You've been through the keto flu. It's a real withdrawal, and it's just sugar and it's caffeine. So it's worse when you add alcohol, but that's a whole other discussion. People die from that combination. But yes.
All right, we are up on our time.
Awesome.
I see the sun is.
Yeah, this is Welsh sun right now. It's coming in. So
it's the same sun.
Yeah, but it's Welsh. You don't have this light where you are because you have different atmosphere.
Yeah, that's interesting. We both have the same sun.
We have the same sun.
I mean, we do, but it's just like
it's different.
The way it's being, because our overcast is dispersing it like how it looks right now. Like this is entirely sunlight on me.
Yeah.
And then
I have direct sun, so they're. I realize we're coming into that time of year because I think last time I was sitting here and I had this problem, it must have been fall.
Yeah.
So we're coming into spring and fall. They're kind of the same thing. So I realize I'm going to have to deal with this for the show until I find a curtain or something.
Start looking like a holy man.
Yeah. So this is my future, guys. My beard is going to be just as white as it looks in the stream. So yeah, I'm getting used to it, man. It's coming.
Yeah. All right. Well, of course, thanks everyone for joining us. Now, of course, before we go, if you are subscribed to the show, we do as you subscribe to the show, check us out on podcasting platforms because we're on all the major ones.
Yes.
We're on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. I think Podcast Addict. I don't know about Stitch. Maybe it's on Stitch.
Maybe.
All these major ones. I'm starting to see actually Apple Podcasts are not our major traffic anymore.
Really? Who's our major traffic?
I think maybe it's Spotify or Pandora, one of those.
Okay, cool. So, guys, even if you watch the show live, add us to your podcast list nonetheless. It does help us out at the end of the day.
And of course, check out tacticalsoap.com. Use the coupon code 10K Rum. That's 10KRUM. You get 10% off. So you can wash your balls. Balls. Have your hormones messed with. And of course,
check all that soy.
Subscribestar.com/shitload-preachers, where you can support the show directly to pledge monthly for as little as $1 a month. So, of course, we do appreciate everyone joining us, all the chats, all the people who are viewing after we're done here. And we will, of course, see everyone next week.
Thanks for watching, guys.